All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh alone. I wanted to get into basically how Jesus Christ's sacrifice was invalid because the Lord told us that sin offerings can only be done within the temple. Jesus Christ was not killed within the temple, so if he was really the lamb or whatever, that was an invalid sacrifice. He is not the real Messiah. Okay, so that's one proof that the New Testament is false. Okay, the Roman Catholic Bible, the Latin Vulgate, calls Jesus Christ Lucifer. Jesus Christ also is known as the serpent in the wilderness that was lifted up by Moses. That's what he calls himself in the New Testament. Really, when you go back into the real Bible, the Old Testament, the Tanakh, the serpent in the wilderness that Moses lifted up was eventually broken because people were worshiping it as an idol. So you're actually not supposed to worship the serpent that was lifted up in the wilderness. So if Jesus was the serpent in the wilderness, you're not supposed to worship him as an idol, right? Clearly y'all not knowing what's going on, right? What else? But besides that, he's not the serpent in the wilderness. Because the serpent in the wilderness that Moses lifted up was, inspired by God. God was telling people, gave him a miracle, right? But basically, Jesus Christ is Lucifer. You got to remember that. So he's actually the other serpent. He's the serpent in the garden. Genesis chapter 2. Genesis 2 and 3. So basically, the New Testament gives you the tree of knowledge. When you read Matthew chapter 7, it tells you about a good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad fruit cannot bear good fruit. Only good trees can bear good fruit, and bad trees can bear bad fruit. And when you read all throughout the New Testament, you'll see all the Gnostic secret messages within the New Testament, proving that the New Testament believes and supports the idea that the God of the Old Testament is the devil. So anybody believing in the Quran, in the New Testament, you're a Lucifer worshiper, okay? Yahweh is the one true God, okay? That's the God of the Old Testament of Israel, the real Bible, the Tanakh. So yeah, I basically broke all that down. You shouldn't. There's no way you could believe in the Old Testament or the New Testament anymore after that. Well, also let me get into that one human sacrifice allegedly. They say there's a human sacrifice in the Book of Judges where the dude killed his daughter, but the Lord, it doesn't say explicitly the Lord accepted that. He just did that of his own volition, which is honestly sad. He wasn't supposed to kill his daughter.